All right, so this is a potentially, well, not potentially, this is a massive story in media for what we talk about here on World of Geekdom, not just one thing or another, multiple things. This is going to change the landscape of media, of the industry. This is big. Okay, there have been rumors floating around about this all week. Now it's official. Netflix is set to acquire Warner Brothers Discovery following the separation of Discovery Global. So that's going to be its own separate company. They're going to basically separate from Warner Brothers. Netflix is paying 82.7 billion to purchase Warner Brothers Discovery. Now, when it comes to, and this report's coming from about.netflix.com, so this is actually Netflix themselves revealing this. Combination will offer more choice and greater value for customers, create more opportunities for the creative community, and generate shareholder value. So there's a number of things we need to talk about here. And again, it goes far beyond what you may think we're going to talk about. So today, December 5th, it's announced that they've entered into a definitive agreement under which Netflix will acquire Warner Brothers, including its film and television studios, HBO Max and HBO. This is a big story, folks. Okay, now, there's a lot of shows that are on HBO Max, and a lot of them are the DC shows. There have been rumors of the Saudis buying Warner Brothers Discovery and bringing back Zack Snyder. That's obviously not going to happen. Is Netflix going to keep James Gunn around? Is that a situation where they don't really care that much? Superman, from what I understand, was a success. But this is a story that's going to be developing for the future of DC, as well as, let's keep it a buck here. Netflix buying HBO Max. What that means is that what's likely going to happen is all of the HBO Max assets are likely going to go to Netflix, which means the Sopranos, the Matrix movies, all of the shows on there, the DC movies, they're all going to go over to Netflix. That's obviously the situation here. Now, when it comes to these purchases, mergers and acquisitions, what they call it in the TV industry, these things can create excitement, but they can also create a hole in the marketplace, because with Warner Brothers Discovery being purchased straight up by Netflix, HBO Max is going to eventually shut down because everything's going to go to Netflix, right? So all those shows are going to, so that app has an expiration date on it, whenever that may be, maybe a couple more years. So that's one thing. The Netflix prices are likely going to go up because of the new content, the new library of content, the inventory they're going to have. This is huge. It says that Netflix will be maintaining Warner Brothers' current operations. So that means that Warner Brothers will continue to make movies, and these movies may or may not be in movie theaters, because what happens if Netflix, who is the parent company, decides to offer up more Netflix exclusive films, which has been happening a lot more lately in the past few years since the pandemic, right? We've seen movies that have been made for streaming services. Disney Plus has theirs, Netflix has theirs, even HBO Max had theirs. Now, the other big question is, obviously, what is the future of All Elite Wrestling? What is going to happen? Because WWE is locked into a deal with Netflix for 5 years, and it could be 10 years. Now, Raw has not been performing the numbers that they were hoping it would, so Netflix may bow out of the deal in 5 years, unless they can figure out a way to turn the ship around. It has not done well on Netflix, especially compared to that first episode where there was that curiosity. So there's that. Now, as far as we know, AEW has a binding contract with Warner Brothers for at least 2 more years. So Dynamite and Collision are going to remain part of Warner Brothers. But what's going to happen after? Because with Netflix having an ongoing deal with WWE, that means that there is a likelihood, especially if their deal with WWE is amicable, you have to understand that Nick Khan is a vicious businessman. TKO is vicious. We know this. We've seen them go after AEW. All it takes is one phone call and some conversation for Netflix to drop AEW completely once. Now, obviously not when the contract is binding, not during that period, but going forward. If when the contract for Dynamite and Collision end, right, AEW may have to find a new home on television. It may no longer be on TBS and TNT. It may no longer be on HBO Max. It may be somewhere else, and likely will be. And that's going to be tough for AEW because AEW is the challenger brand. WWE, even though Netflix has, less numbers than, the Netflix Raws aren't doing as well as I thought it was going to do. WWE is still the number one wrestling company. It's just the way it is. They've been around the longest. They're the largest. It is what it is. So this story is actually going to have major ramifications going forward for the future of professional wrestling as well. Now, what's probably going to happen initially is that AEW is going to stay on TBS and TNT because the deals are there, and therefore Netflix will be collecting capital on both AEW and WWE. They're going to have both the number one and number two wrestling companies under their contracts, under their television contracts. And I don't believe that's ever happened before. I don't think that has ever happened before in the history. The only thing I can think of that's even remotely close is Black Saturday. And even that is different because the landscape for streaming is so different than it was back then. But and if you don't know what Black Saturday is, just type in Black Saturday into YouTube and watch either the Dark Side of the Ring episode or watch a little video. I'm sure somebody's made a video on it so you learn about what Black Saturday is. But these things are so rare and they're so earth-shattering. So I think things will stay the same, but it just seems to me that either Netflix will drop WWE, because that could happen, and maybe keep AEW, or they're going to drop AEW from the I was going to say HBO Max, but HBO Max is not going to exist in a few years. So this is a major developing story. I'm sure we'll learn more about what the plans are with what's happening. It says here, Greg Peters, the co-CEO of Netflix, said this acquisition will improve our offering and accelerate our business for decades to come. And yeah, Warner Brothers is a major, major company, dude. I mean, that's the Looney Tunes. Don't forget that when Ted Turner owned Time Warner, that he got the Looney Tunes library, Hanna-Barbera. Cartoon Network is, guys, Cartoon Network is now under Netflix. That's crazy. That is crazy. David Zaslav was quoted here as saying, today's announcement combines two of the greatest storytelling companies in the world to bring to even more people the entertainment they love to watch the most. For more than a century, Warner Brothers has thrilled audiences, captured the world's attention, and shaped our future. By coming together with Netflix, we will ensure people everywhere will continue to enjoy the world's most resonant stories for generations to come. That's big, man. That is big. Anyways, we'll see what happens, but that is one hell of a story. Let's see what goes down, man. Those are my thoughts. Crazy. We'll be talking about this, I'm sure, for years to come as things begin to take shape.